Hi everyone, it's Jason Pegler here. I'm an age grouper, publisher, social entrepreneur, and I'm quite excited because I'm on my way to my B race of the year, which is Wimblewall in Exmoor. It's Ironman 70.3 UK. It's just gone 6 o'clock in the morning and it takes 3 hours to get there. 3.5 hours it says. Got no idea where it is really, I'm just following the sat nav. It's in Exmoor. So, I'm here to tell you about my Ironman journey so far and about how you can do an Ironman yourself if you've not done one, how you can improve your performance if you've already done one, and how if you're like triathlon but you've not yet done a medium, half Ironman or full distance, about how to go about it. Let me tell you about Ironman. When I was younger, when I was about 8 or 9 years old, my dad, he used to pretend that he was the best at every sport in the world, which I loved being a kid because I loved all sports, absolutely everything. From my memory recall, around about the Los Angeles Olympics 1984, I would have been 9 years old. From my memory, I watched Ironman on the television. It must have been Dave Scott winning. 6 times legend. Anyone who knows anything about triathlon knows Dave Scott, okay? And he's an amazing guy, actually, an amazing guy. And the first time I spoke to him, I said, it's like speaking to God on the phone. And he said, Jason, I'm not God. So, respect to Dave. Ironman was the only sport. When I saw the Ironman on the television, I thought, I swear to God, I'm going to do that one day. And I completely forgot about it until July 2012, when just in my local cycling shop, my life was about to transform forever. It sounds corny, but it's absolutely true. What happened? Well, I just went in my local cycling shop, Cadence Performance Cycling Shop in Crystal Palace, a state-of-the-art cycling shop, and they should be giving me a referral for that, really, but who knows. And I walked in there with my 2 children, Oscar and Anna, who were very young at the time. They'd have been like 3, 4 and 2, or 3 and 1 kind of thing. And my dad and my partner, and they said, would you like to have a free fitness test next week? It's normally £200, £250, a VO2 max test, but we've got Cycling Weekly coming in and we'd like someone to do it for free. I thought, wow, always up for a challenge whenever it's anything to do with sport, as long as it's not horse racing. Then I was absolutely up for it. So yes, I said yes, okay. So I used to ride a bike to school. Had a bike when I was about 10, a racing bike, and used to ride up in Gloucester, where I'm from. Used to ride up little hills like that on a Sunday every now and then with my friends, but only did it about half a dozen times, and that's probably only about going to the school and back. I think is 6 miles there and back or something. So, and used to ride no-handed, carrying about 20 books in my rucksack, and I used to fall off it a lot because I was usually smoking a cigarette. That's what I did when I was younger. Anyway, back to the amazing experience that was about to unfold. So I started having this VO2 max test, and this is what they do: is they put you on a certain wattage, and then every 2 minutes or something like that, I think it is, they increase the intensity, so it becomes harder. And I was just wearing a pair of normal trainers, so I didn't have proper bike shoes or anything. Like I said, I hadn't really ridden a bike since I was at school, although I had a bike for about a year, just when I was about living in Vauxhall when I was about sort of my mid-20s, and so I started doing this test, and they say, "Hi, I'm here on the bike," and then on my right hand side they say, "Hi, meet Nick the Ironman." I thought, this guy is sweating like crazy, really, it just looked really happy, really physically fit, and he was like looking at his bike and then looking down, and he was talking quite a bit, and then every now and then he had to stop because it was getting harder. So what was really quite amazing was that we just kept, once I finished my test and everything, we just started talking. I said, "Oh, tell me about Ironman, what's distance?" And he said, "You swim 2.4 miles, you swim 2.4 miles, you cycle 112 miles, and you run a marathon. So it's like when he said it, it repeated in my mind, and I thought, wow, that is the ultimate test. And my mind went click. Oh my God, that's what I swore I was going to do when I was a kid. It went in my head. Honest to God, it's like this. And I've had at the same time had this flash of this memory, thinking of Carl Lewis at the Los Angeles Olympics. I think he won 3 gold medals, didn't he? He was pretty good. And thinking, well, he's the ultimate athlete. And then I saw the Ironman on the other channel or something like that. So I started talking to Nick, and I actually discovered that not only was he an Ironman, but he was a very, very good one. So he'd done, I think, about 32 Ironmans. He started doing them in 1984 when he saw Dave Scott, of all people, give a talk in England somewhere. Nick's lives in Beckenham, so I'm not sure exactly where the talk was. I think it might have been Oxford or something. And so in the time, so just to give an example, in 2014 Nick is 55, okay? By 2014 he's 55. He's done 32 odd Ironmans. I think only one of them is over 10 hours, and that was in I think that was in Hawaii. He's done Hawaii 3 times. His best position is 88th in Hawaii. All his other Ironmans have been in the 9 hours, and he's done a couple in 8 hours. He did Klagenfurt, I think 8:48 or 8:52 is his best. He came 18th in the first European Championships in Frankfurt. He's completed every one of his Ironmans apart from one in Zurich, and that's when he made a mistake. It was raining a lot, and he said he stopped to put a plastic a bin liner over him, and instead of getting warmer, it got colder because the water stuck to him, and that was when he was actually doing really well. So Nick is he's really, really good. He's come fifth and sixth in his age group 3 times in the World Championships. He's seriously good. If you think about it on the scale of things, consider that Ironman is probably the ultimate endurance sport in the whole world. I mean, it's just insane. When you say it to people just go, "What?" As if you're crazy. And they sort of this look of, first this sort of misunderstanding, then this kind of shock, and then realization, and then sort of fear, and then kind of respect, admiration. So I thought, hang on. At the time, I'm very much into personal development, and the psychology of success and achievement and all this kind of thing. Mental health empowerment is what I call it in my work in line of mental health publishing. So I'm really into motivation, taking action, all this kind of thing. So I thought, right, in my head I thought, if I'm going to do an Ironman, I must stay in touch with this guy, otherwise it's not going to happen. It's going to be an idea that I have, and then I will just give up on. We both, or all of us, have 2 voices in our head. We have a voice that tells us we can do something, and the voice that tells us that we can't do something. can, no, yes I can, no I can't, I can, I can't, I can, I can't, go on, no, go on, no, go on, no. This kind of thing. We have this constant struggle between action and inaction, going forward and going backwards. And life really is about living and enjoying the moment. Living the life of your dreams now, I call it in my howtobeasuccess.co.uk website, for example. So, where am I going with this? I'm sharing my story with you to explain to you why I took up Ironman and why it's an amazing thing, why I'd recommend it to anybody, and how inspiring it is, and how I just have such a passion for it that I want to stay involved in the Ironman community and see it grow, all long distance triathlon community, I must officially call it. I don't have anything other to say my vision really, to be honest, more than anything, is to change the way the world thinks about mental health. So I want to improve the world's mental health, and I've been publishing people since the year 2001, people with mental illness, because I had bipolar disorder when I was at school. In 1992 I had a diagnosis, and I was on medication until 2005 when I went to an Anthony Robbins event, and it gave me the confidence to come off it in liaison with my psychiatrist at the time. And since then I've been counselling him ever since, really. So back to Ironman, back to Nick, back to Cadence Cycling Centre. I started talking to Nick. I was quite fit at the time because I'd been boxing with Duke Mackenzie at his gym in Crystal Palace. Lovely guy, Duke's got time for everyone. The real diamond of a man. He's the only British boxer to be world champion at 3 different weights. Not many people know that. So in some ways you can say he's the best British boxer of all time. His gym is great actually, because it's got pictures of all the people people like. It's got photos with, I think my favourite is Rocky Balboa. Sylvester Stallone, because that's kind of the irony of that is quite amusing. And then Arnold Schwarzenegger, people like that, all sorts of, you recognise everyone there and think, I know who that is, hundreds of photos. And there's a big sign in there as well that says less is more, which is common in a lot of, don't actually know where that came from, less is more, but you see it a lot. So back to Ironman, back to Nick. So I said to Nick, look, I'll keep your details, and I didn't want to, I was thinking, this guy, I'm going to keep in touch with and want him to coach me. He'd not officially coached anyone, although he was helping at the shop, because he's a pharmacist by trade, retired, and probably had the talent to be a professional athlete, but didn't really want to, as far as I can tell. So from what I've spoken with him, because this is kind of all or nothing really, you have to dedicate your whole life to it. So at the time I said to Nick, I think I could probably do an Olympic distance, I'm fit enough. When he told me the distances, Olympic distance is 1500 metre swim, 40 kilometre bike, and 10 kilometre run. I think I could have done the swim. It would have been an absolute mess with my swim style. Ride a bike, I'm sure I could ride a bike, and run, I bet I would have ended up walking quite a lot of it, but I'm sure I could have finished. God knows how long it would have taken me. But you're only as good as your last race, and I hadn't had a race, right? So then a sprint distance, 750 metre swim, 20k bike, 5k run. I'm sure I could have done one of those. An Olympic distance is still, of course, an endurance event, because it's still in 2 hours, 2.5 hours for most people. So talking to Nick, was really inspiring. He was telling me about Ironman and all this kind of thing. So that was in July 2012. I was thinking, okay, Ironman, I'm going to do that. So I arranged to meet up with Nick a few weeks later, and we met up at a gym in Beckenham. And first he said, right, go just swim 25 metre pool it was. So he said, swim, show me what you've got and swim back. So I started swimming front crawl, and I realised I was an absolute mess. I mean, I had swum a mile when I was 9, but it was more like doggy paddle, really. And I seemed to be, I wouldn't know how long, that probably took me about an hour, I think, at that age or something. Can't really remember. So anyway, by the time I come back, I started doing breaststroke because I felt embarrassed, and then Nick showed me how you should swim, and it was just like because what he was saying, it made sense, everything that he was saying, but I was just thinking on a kind of another level. My superconscious mind was thinking, oh my god, there is so much to learn here. This guy can teach me everything. I can learn how to swim. Like, this is, fantastic. So then we got out of the pool, and he said, right, let's go on the bike. So we went on these 2 bikes. They were like bikes, interactive bikes. They were like playing a computer game on the bike. I started a couple of minutes before Nick because he was trying to work out how to set it up, and I was on an easier level, and he still finished before me, and it was only like a 10 minute, I don't know, it wasn't that long a ride, 20-minute ride or something, and I needed a break, and I think he carried on warming down or something like that. So I guess that says it all, really. Then I thought, right, and then we were brought back, and I thought, right, that's good. And he goes, right, let's go for a run. I said, what? It was actually really hot outside. It's the middle of summer, and I said, oh, so I don't know if I wanted to run or something. He said, look, you don't know unless you try, right? I thought, okay. So we go out and have a run, and I'm going really slow. And to give you an idea of my running talent, it's, I don't know. I mean, I think when I was in school, when we were 11, we were all told to run around the field, and I think I came 9th out of 30. So, not bad, but not really quick. I think quite. But I've never run more than 5 kilometres. I ran 5 kilometres for the school once. I came 15th in an inter-schools cross-country competition. But the first 30 kids went the wrong way, and then I ended up in the lead because they all went the wrong way. So they would have all beat me. So I used to not like it when I used to be okay, and then when I got a stitch, I thought, I don't want to do this. And I used to prefer playing rugby. I loved playing rugby. I was really good at that. I used to play second row on number 8, and there's a lot of people I played with ended up playing for Gloucester, where I'm from, and some of them had professional careers. So, but I kind of 17 and was in a psychiatric ward for 6 months, unfortunately. So back to Ironman. And back to this run with Nick. So we start going for a run, and I'm going really slow, and he said, what you want to do, every said every now and then just speed up like this so you don't get used to one speed, and he races off into the distance like he's on a motorbike or something. So then I do that, and then he said just slow down, and then we did that a few times, and he's talking and I'm thinking it's getting hotter and hotter. I'm thinking, when are we going to turn round? Because I don't really want to run. I've already swum and cycled, and anyway, after probably only about a mile or something, we turn around, to my great relief, and then I start really enjoying it and thinking, hang on a minute, well, I've done all three now. So go back and then thank Nick and think, right, and then we're in touch by text and things, and he said, look, if you're really serious about doing it, what you want to do is enter a race. So if you're really interested in doing it, what you want to do is enter a race. So I thought, okay. Nick was giving me lots of advice on what races to do. Initially, he was saying, look, go for Frankfurt, because that's it's official Ironman race. So, because he was saying Roth is a good, really good race, great atmosphere. And I was saying, look, I want to do the official Ironman because that's what I've heard of, kind of thing. So he said, well, Frankfurt's really good, and Austria is, beautiful, and they're fast courses that suit your body type, because I'm 6'3.5". So I'm a big guy, so I'm better on a flat bike course, really, and that's what we were thinking. So, but before that, Nick had I'd met him for another time for. I think I met him another time for an hour, and or it might have been even the same time. I got him to write something down. I think it was probably another time. He said, look, what you want to do is just to practice the three swimming. So you swim for an hour twice a week, and use a pull buoy to get your body shape up correct. Don't worry about your legs, just try and get your arms right. So I did that, and I didn't have a bike at that time, but I would be running a couple of times a week, and it felt like kind of surreal, because when we first went for that swim, bike and run session at David Lloyd Gym in Beckenham, I thought it felt psychologically, it just felt hard. Like 1, 2, 3 is a lot to think about, and then I start training, and I'm running slow, and swimming, I'm frantically just bashing away, and there's people just going, some people swimming so smooth, and I didn't have a bike. So Nick said, what you need to do is you need to enter a race. So I was looking at races, I was thinking Frankfurt, Austria, Frankfurt, Klagenfurt, Frankfurt, Klagenfurt. And Nick said he'd done his best time in Klagenfurt in Austria, so I thought, right, okay, I'll go with that. He'd already sold out, but I booked it with Nirvana Europe. It's an organisation that fly you out there, take your bike out there, and you have to book your accommodation with them, which means it's all in one package. So for someone like me, who's quite impractical and busy with work and family, and it's very reassuring knowing that someone can take care of the whole package. So you do pay a bit more, but it's much less stressful. You don't have to organise everything. From the moment that I paid the money from Nirvana Europe, it went from an idea to a reality. I'd set a goal 11 months in advance. I think it was the first week in July for 2013. It became a reality, and I thought, so I had this massive excitement, this frisson, this sensation, thinking, oh my God, what is really going on? What I wanted to do was to make myself more accountable. So everywhere I went, I said to people, I've just entered an Ironman, I'm going to do an Ironman. And he goes, what's that? I said, it's a 2.4 mile swim, it's a 112 mile bike ride, it's a 26.2 mile run, all in one day. I've got this coach, he's one of the best athletes in the world for his age, he lives just around the corner, it's just a coincidence, met him in the cycling shop, it's something I saw on telly when I was 9 years age. It was something I saw on telly when I was 9 years age, and I swore to myself, I'm going to do this one day. And it was the only thing that my dad had not said he was world champion at, because he'd probably not heard of it, or we'd just forgotten about it. So this is, I'm like, can you remember that cartoon, Sport Billy? That's like me as a kid. I just used to love sport. I used to have all the top trumps, all the different sports. I used to love playing football, everything, cricket, rugby, throwing a ball, everything. I'm a sports nut, a sports addict. I absolutely love it. And I've always, I'd always planned on exercise. I've always heard at these seminars that if you exercise every day, or however, 5-6 days a week, then you have a happier life, you get more fulfilled, you're happier in the moment, you achieve more, this kind of thing. So, and I've always thought, yeah, I'll do that one day, and I know from my own sporting history, not that it's that special or anything, but I know from my own sporting history that I'm suited for endurance, because one, I'm not particularly fast. Two, they say that the longer an event, it can kind of level out the possibility that you might do well. Although I don't really buy into that, because the Ironman is so tough, and then if you look at the best people, they're so quick. So there has to be some kind of genetic makeup. Some people are just better athletes than others for different sports, they're just different shapes and things like that. But there's certainly a psychological aspect between the person who comes first and second, the person who comes second and third, 10th and 11th, or whatever it is. There's a huge psychological aspect. So I became part of this new tribe, this Ironman family, and all I'm doing is training on my own, right? Really. All I'm doing is training on my own. So I'm swimming at Crystal Palace swimming pool on my own. I haven't got a bike yet. Until I sit down with Nick and we look at bikes. He says, right, what you want to do is, why don't you get a road bike and put some triathlon bars in it? So he's having a look at different places and wiggle and things like that. I can't remember where he bought the bike from, but Nick said, look, this is an end of season sale, this is good. It was about $1,000 off, it was a felt something or other, and instead of $2,500 it was about $1,500. So that was a really good deal. He said, look, just get used to the road bike and then we'll add some tri-bars on later on. I thought, okay, that's fine with me. And then the running, he said, look, just get yourself some shoes. And I was saying, oh, this and that. He said, look, just get Asics or Saucony's. And he goes, Asics are the best. So I got a pair of Asics. And I had actually went into some major sports direct with my girlfriend, and she was helping me choose what kit, and it was just sort of Nike stuff, although I didn't really end up wearing any of some actually the t-shirts are pretty good and the shorts still wear for running, so it was quite exciting. So I'd entered this Ironman. I thought, oh my god, this is just such a... I thought that I knew I could do it with my... I'm a very driven person. When I've set my mind to something, I just go for it. I mean, everyone is really... If you've got that focus, if you're focused on something, you can really go for it. So I found that was really motivating to tell people. So what I would do is when I dropped my little boy Oscar off at school, I'd keep saying to everybody, hey, I've entered this Ironman, and just say, oh, where is it, and then say in Austria, and I'd say to everyone. So within a month I'd said it to over 200 people, so I couldn't back out of it even if I wanted to, because I would look like a fool. And I didn't want to, and that's why I was saying it, because it was making me do it. Every time I was saying it, it was making me do it, it was making it happen. So that was just really, really, really good. So I got this felt bike, and I went out for a ride with Nick, and it's quite hilly in the South Downs near Crystal Palace. You can just ride out, and there's some really great countryside. And Nick was riding around, and he said, are you good at this? Like, try and go up this hill. I think it's called White's Hill. And he said, look, they have races up here, just up this hill, because it's so steep. He said, if you can't get up, don't worry, just walk up, and then I'll see you at the top. So I thought, well, that's a challenge. So I went for it. Nick's quite a small guy. He's I'm not sure how tall he is. He's probably about 5'10" or something like that. Very healthy looking and toned, and so with a lighter body weight, he's going to go up hills quicker anyway. But obviously he's a better athlete than me anyway, because I'm just starting, right? So, and he's brilliant anyway, better anyway. So I make it to the top, and I'm really pleased. And he said, oh, well done, Jace, most people don't make that. So that was good. And then after, he told me, well, you're a natural on the bike. You've got... actually, the first time we went out on the bike was before that. We came around my house, and we went around Crystal Palace Park. We went from my house, and it took me a while. It took me a while to get used to clipping in and clipping out. That took me really a good hour. And then dodging the dogs in Crystal Palace Park was pretty cool. So my Ironman journey started taking off. So it was July 2012, and there's 11 months to go before this race. And so I start training for 4 weeks, 8 weeks, and gradually start reading more and more about the sport, and getting books on how to do an Ironman and all this kind of thing. And one of them, I read it, a lot of the time it says you should have, most people will come from either a swimming, cycling or running background. Only 6% of triathletes come from it without any of the background in those three, which is quite interesting. So it really was new and exciting. It's 3 different sports. It's probably the only three sports I never really did, because I've done a lot of like football, cricket, rugby, tennis, but swimming, cycling, and running, not really. I mean, I've kind of done all three, but not. To be honest, I've not really felt that I was good at either of those three. Maybe. Because bike had just been a way of getting to school or go around a friend's house. Swimming, I knew my technique was, appalling, and running was something I didn't like because it gave me a stitch. So it really was a challenge. And I obviously discussed it with my partner, Sonia, and she was supportive. Told my parents about it. They both thought it was a bit much, but said, well, if that makes you happy, then give it a go. And so my training schedule was 6 to 15 hours a week with Saturdays off. A lot of people train every day, and Nick had initially suggested training every day, but I wanted to have time with my family. So for me, Saturday is sports day anyway, because it was when I always used to watch Grandstand as a kid, but Saturdays when I wanted to be with my family. Fortunate that I'm around quite a lot when I want to be, because I've got my own business. And so all these training days are mapped out for me to do. So it says, swim such and such, and Nick always mixes the routines up so we don't get bored with everything, and they're either easy, middle or hard routines, and they're mixed up between long and short, really sort of long, short and medium, and at different heart rates and everything, depending on what time of year it is, whether it's what's called the build phase, which is when you're building your aerobic capacity. So building your aerobic capacity is so that you can go on for longer, and then working on your speed work, your anaerobic, so that you can go a quicker pace. And then, there really is a lot of science to it. And triathlon has been around, they say, since 1800s. But maybe it wasn't called that then. I was chatting to Dave Scott on the phone the other day, actually, and he was saying that he said before we called it triathlon. He said his first triathlon, I think, was in 1976, and he said before that we were doing events that were just swimming and running. And he said we even did, I think he said we do swim, run, swim, or something like that. So, but the official Ironman started in 1977, I think. I hope I got that right. Cool. And then 78, 77, and it was this guy who people were having a debate: who's the fittest sportsman, swimmer, cyclist, or runner? So they thought they'd do a race, put the three together, and then the legend was born. And just a little bit of history of the sport. In the 80s, there's Dave Scott. He won it 6 times, and then in 1989, it was the kind of passing of the guard. There was this guy, Mark Allen, who could win every short distance triathlon in the world, but could never quite beat Dave Scott in Miami. And it's called the Iron Wall. And they were neck and neck all the way until just about a couple of miles to go. Mark said that he saw Dave go for a drink, and it was like he was shot out of the cannon, and he went on for his first victory, and he ended up winning 5 in a row. took a year off, and then came back and won his 6th one at the age of 37. So the holy grail for triathlon is Ironman Hawaii in Kona, where it is nowadays. There's